Good afternoon, everybody. Hope the week is treating you extremely well. Wanted to keep it pretty simple here. And in this week's video, I wanted to really take a look at relative strength as well as an interesting false breakdown for a particular index that we'll get into here in just a second. But before we get into those individual indexes, what we wanted to take a look at real quickly was the overall market as a whole. So the S&P 500, as you can see, this zone right here, 2800, acted as resistance earlier this year. It acted as resistance last month, and now we've kind of broken up above that. So the way that I'm looking at this market right now is we have until the all-time high, this kind of being that resistance zone where we have not traded since the highs were put in earlier this year, and this is what we're watching for. If we make a break above this zone, that would of course be very bullish. And if we cannot sustain a move back up into here, then what we would be looking for is it to fall probably back down towards the previous support zone, right around that 2700 zone. So that's what we're looking for out of the overall market. So let's take a look at where we have had some relative strength as of late. And that's actually the retail space, which is pretty surprising, seeing as how last year had a very poor showing out of the retail space. But over the last couple of months, it's made consistently higher highs. In fact, we had a nice breakout, and then we had a nice essentially pullback and some more follow through here to the upside over the last week or so. And when we start looking at this for some targets, we can take the lows to the breakout spot right in here. And we get our first target on the retail index at that 1382 level on a midterm time frame. Now, another area that has not broken out but is on the verge of it would be the biotech index. And when we take a look at this, highs put in earlier this year, we are right back up against those highs, so right into this resistance zone. And we are making a nice bullish flag here right underneath of those highs put in earlier this year. So we're going to look for a breakout and a follow through above this over the next couple of weeks, and this could be a space that we see some heating up and some good moves into the end of the year. And if we look at the bigger picture on a weekly time frame, we can really see the importance of this zone right here. A move above it would give us a run back up towards that 4,200 high put in back in 2015. Now, I said there was a potential false breakdown in one index, and that would be the Airline Index. Now, let's take a look at this in a couple of different ways. First off, the most important zone of support going back over the last couple of years has been right here. And we can go back and we can clearly see this zone held once, it held twice, it held a third time, and it held for a while here earlier this year. And then over the last month, we had a sharp breakdown underneath of that support that had been in play since going back to 2016. Now, typically when we see a break like this, we're going to see continued follow through to the downside, and perhaps this was a topping out movement that was put in over the last couple of years. However, when we see an immediate quick reversal, we can look at this as a potential false breakdown. Now, usually when we have a false breakdown, we get a sharp and swift move into the other direction. One of the ways to think about it is bears press in short right here. They're giving it everything they got. All of a sudden, they run out of steam. Buyers, once again, step in and are able to overcome those bears. And if they can push it back up above what used to be support, which should now act as resistance on that breakdown, which we're currently seeing. When we zoom in, we're getting back up over that zone, and might have the ability to continue to drive this higher. Oil, of course, has been something that we've talked about a lot here over the last year. It had a very strong move throughout the summer, but over the last week, we have seen oil weaken. It could also help the airline index if oil continues to weaken. Fuel prices obviously are a major component for the airline companies in terms of their operating costs. Cheaper cheaper oil, cheaper gasoline, of course, is going to be a tailwind for the airlines. So that's what we're going to continue to be watching there into the end of the summer. So takeaways from today's video: the overall market's still kind of grinding up. We are taking a look at potentially challenging those highs that were put in earlier this year, and we're looking at this as a potential resistance zone. The biotech space is one that we certainly want to pay attention to. It looks like it could be on the verge of a breakout, and the airline index could be putting in a sharp false bottom reversal, and we'll have to continue to pay attention to that. So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. You have yourselves a fantastic weekend, and I will see you all next week. Take care.